Yeah, and I asked Stephen.
Hey everyone, we're live. Welcome. This is SharePoint Power Hour. I'm Laura Rogers, and SharePoint Power Hour is a live show that we do every Wednesday at 11 Central. I have my team of SharePoint consultants here at Rackspace Hosting, and we demo everything in SharePoint having to do with anything you can do mostly out of the box solutions. We don't do any kind of hardcore programming or hardcore server admin topics, but I think this is our 97th episode or something like that. So yeah, episode 97. So we're getting to 100. It's pretty exciting. Today I'm going to do a workflow thing. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I want to go ahead and introduce the team. We have a new member on our team. Corey, you've actually been to the last couple of power hours, but I never did officially introduce you, I don't think. But
Yep.
let's see, we'll go Corey, then Kevin, then Ryan. And I got two cameras going on me because I just wanted to be able to show my face while I'm doing it, because it's going to be a big demo this entire time. So I figured I'd try something different.
All right, so I'm Corey. I'm a SharePoint, I don't know, mostly out-of-the-box stuff. I was an apprentice under Laura, so if Laura can do it, there's a chance that I may be able to do it as well.
Kevin, stop laughing and go.
I'm Kevin Hughes, SharePoint architect here at Rackspace on Laura's team, based out of Kansas City, and my part on the team is to interface with our clients, figure out exactly what they need in the SharePoint world, and try to come up with how we're going to deliver that, and work with the rest of our team to deliver it.
Hi everybody, I'm Ryan Keller. I am the branding and UI guy on the team. So if you've been watching this for any amount of time, you probably see me do the same intro a few times. So that means I make SharePoint look pretty. Based out of Northern Colorado, and been working with SharePoint for like 8-ish years now, I think, and doing branding for about half that time. And I think I'm overdue for another branding power hour, so hopefully we'll get one of those going one of these days.
Okay, all right, so today's Power Hour is about a post that I wrote that's on my blog, wonderlaura.com. It's about how to do a lazy approval in SharePoint workflows. The solution is only on premises, and it's only SharePoint 2013. There are various, I've heard of ways, maybe y'all can address them later, about ways people have done this in 2010, but this solution is only on premises because in email functionality it doesn't exist out of the box in Office 365, and it's only 2013 because some of the specific workflow actions that I'm going to be using are in 2013 and not in 2010 workflows. Also, I wanted to point out that just since I posted this post, I guess yesterday, my friend Wendy Neal, another just person in the community that I've met before, she said that she does know of an Office 365 app that you could use to do this. So maybe we'll have time towards the end to delve into this, but she said it's called Email Services, and it's an app that exists in Office 365 that will give you this functionality. So I've never heard of that or tried it, but there is hope for you, maybe Office 365 people. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Let's see. Move this over here. And then when I share my screen, you'll be able to still see my face. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and just show you, here's the blog post here. And I'll go ahead and walk through, just show you what the solution looks like when it works. Hopefully I didn't break it too much when I started messing with it last night after I wrote the blog post. And I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you how I built it. So I created this just a really stupid, simple, just travel request list. So this could be, just imagine any kind of request list that you might have in your environment. Just you know, I only put a couple of fields in this one, but I didn't want to focus on what the request was. I wanted to focus on you know, what it's going to do. So the idea is that it's going to send you your assigned task when it's time for you to go approve something, and then it's going to, when you get the email, you're going to be able to click a button in the email to approve it, so directly without having to go to SharePoint. So that's the idea. That's what lazy approval is. So let's see, I'm going to go to, I don't know, let's see, Washington, D.C., and I'll go ahead and go there, I don't know, in a couple of weeks. And I put, let's see, here we go. So again, very simple request form. So I set up a workflow to run as soon as a new request gets submitted, and so now it's running. It assigned a task. So I can go look at this and see, go look at my workflow. It assigned a task to Laura Rogers, and I can go over to my workflow task list, and I can see here's the new task that got assigned. And now I also need to open up my email. I usually close my email when I do Power Hour, and so I need to actually open that up so I can show you what the email looks like. Okay, so I get an email that says, it's from SharePoint. It's just a regular task email, but I customized it so that I can approve or reject via email. So when I click approve, it pulls up a new email. And then you're going to want to train your users to not change anything and just hit send. I know that I've actually seen a couple of systems internally where just at work where you have lazy approval, but it does create a new email when you, and it just says in the email, please click send, do nothing else. Have you guys ever seen that? Anyway, so it says please click send, do nothing else. So I sent the email, and then I actually have this separate list in SharePoint, which is where the email is going to arrive because I have incoming email turned on it. So it might take a couple of minutes for the email to arrive, but it's going to be travel request number 22. So you can just wait a little bit, and I'll show you what that setting. Here it is, travel request 22. So as soon as the email arrives, it goes, look, and it goes completes my task for me. And so now the task is complete, so now I can go back and look, and I can see here that it says approved. So it completed the task, which shows that it's approved. Pretty cool, right? So this is something that people have asked for a lot. I remember them asking for it in 2010, and the problem that I had never gotten around in 2010 was that you can turn on incoming email. So this is where the incoming email setting is. This is you can do this on announcement lists, document libraries, or calendars. I don't think any other ones. So I created this list as an announcement list, and I turned on incoming email. So the problem in 2010 was that you could turn on incoming email, but then the incoming email, when it would arrive, it wouldn't trigger a workflow, even if you had a workflow set to run when new items arrive. Kevin, anybody, does that ring a bell?
Yeah, because the reason for that is because when the email arrived, it was recorded as created by or modified by the system account, and in 2010, system account was not allowed to initiate workflows. That really hasn't changed too much in 2013, but 2013 workflows give you other options.
Exactly. So I heard somebody had told me in 2010 that they had to do some kind of funkiness where they went into central admin or did something with a config file or in PowerShell to make it so that it triggers workflows. I don't know. That sounds kind of wonky to me. Actually, let me go ahead and change my resolution while I'm in here, because I've heard that when it's on the YouTube video later, it doesn't look that awesome. So let's see. I think it was this one. Sorry about that. I always forget to do this ahead of time. Okay. Cancel. Oh, I did the wrong monitor. Okay. Well, let me see. Other monitor. There we go. And go. Okay, that's much better, I think. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to look much better on the recording. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so that's what it looks like too. So what I did was when I created my new list and I did add an app, I created it as an announcement list using this template. And because I did it as an announcement list, it has the incoming email option. Incoming email is something that if you're on premises SharePoint 2013 and you don't see incoming email, it's because your SharePoint server admin has not set up incoming email, which is actually a whole process that they have to go through. It's not just magically on whenever you install SharePoint. So it's something they would have had to do on the server to give it information about your Exchange server and stuff like that to turn it on.
Laura?
Yeah.
We have a question in the Q&A section. If you can hide the cameras so that the screen's a little bigger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wonder if they said that before I enlarged my screen, but yeah. Does it, I think it hit us now, maybe?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. All right, okay. So I created this list, this incoming email list as an announcement list because I know that's one of the types, and I just called it approval email, but again, it's just an announcement list. So again, I'll go real quick, go into list settings, and you use your incoming email settings. So for this particular situation, I don't need attachments. You could do attachments if you wanted to, if it would put it as a list item attachment. In a library, you would actually put it as a file in the library, so it's kind of nice. This one, if you choose to save the original email, then it will put the .eml file as an attachment on the list item. And I don't need to do that here. I just need whether it's approved or not. And this one I'm going to say accept email messages based on list permissions because I don't want just anybody sending an email to this list approving things and maybe they aren't somebody that's supposed to be approving things. So I went ahead and locked the permissions down on this list so only the certain approvers have contribute permission on the list so that other people's things just won't arrive here. But you could allow it to receive email from just anybody from outside the company or anybody at all. All right, so that's what I did on my approval email list. And then my workflow task, I didn't do anything. It's just the standard out-of-the-box task list. And then my travel request is just my super simple, just custom list with just a couple of fields. Where's my trip to, start date and end date. All right. So now I'm going to show you how I did the workflow. I'll go ahead and share my, oops, let me go close that. Okay, go to Workflows in SharePoint Designer. And I will actually, I was debating whether or not to build it or to just, start all over from scratch. And I think I'll go ahead and just start all over from scratch with a new one. So what I'm going to do is I'll just quickly build a new super simple list, just like this travel request. I'll call it like vacation request or something. And I'm just going to use my same incoming email list and just have that be the same one, not have to create another one for that. All right, and then I'll go to vacation request and just create a couple of columns in it real quick. Start and the date, sure, and end. Super, super simple. All right, and then I'll just say change the title field to just like type a vacation or something, vacation, and just let them type something. Anyway, and again, I'm not going to get super complicated with what this list does. Okay, so now I'm going to go create, this is my vacation request, I'm going to go create a workflow on the vacation request list that will run when a new vacation request is submitted. So I have to refresh SharePoint Designer so it will recognize that I just added a new list so that now when I go to my list workflow here, here's vacation request. All right, so new vacation request. And it is going to be SharePoint 2013. All right, so here's my interface for creating my workflow. The first one I'm going to do is assign a task. Now, this solution, I'm just going to assign a single task, and at the end of my blog post I kind of describe how this could get a lot trickier if we're doing a task process that assigns has multiple people involved in a single task process, because when I create a single one or one that's got multiple people involved, either one of those is still just going to have one thing for the task title. So if it has multiple people in a single workflow action, the task title is going to be exactly the same for every task that gets assigned. So in the real life, I usually don't like that anyway. I usually like to create separately assign a separate task to each person, even if you have multiple people involved, have like this action used several times in the workflow, as opposed to cramming them all into the workflow that's got a whole process with just multiple people in it with one action. All right, so because you'll see as I build the solution that the task title is going to be, a lot of things are going to revolve around that being unique. So I'll make this so that it's unique. For participant, I'm just going to put myself in here just to keep it simple. Usually in the real world, I like to have a SharePoint group or something more dynamic than just people's names hard-coded into it. All right, for task title, I'm going to go use my little ellipsis. So I can put a combination of fields and just a combination of fields and data from my items. So I'll say vacation, request, rec, just rec like that, and I'll put an ID for what the ID, and that's unique, what the ID of the vacation request is. And then I can say for somebody's name, whoever created the current item. All right. Okay, so that's, and then you'd put, okay, please approve or reject this. Just something about what they're supposed to do. For due date, I'm just going to say they have to do this before it's time for the person to go on vacation. Whatever. Okay, email options. This is sort of where the magic happens right here. So I'm going to go open my email editor. This is the email that I showed you where I had added the verbiage that asks them, whether they want to approve or reject it, and it has the verbiage right there in the email. So first of all, they might need to have more information in front of them to know whether they want to approve or reject it. So you might want to put some additional fields from whatever the request is. So travel request submitted by blah blah blah, whoever created the item. And trip starts, and then put start date. Oops, not a task property. Keeps defaulting to task properties. And the start date, I'll do short date. And then trip ends. And so again, like, you could insert a bunch of different fields from whatever your thing is that's being approved. That way they'll have everything they need right in front of them in the email, so they'll know whether they approve or reject it. So approve this. I'll just type via email. And then here's where you're creating the syntax. So this hyperlink is where all the magic happens, where you create the syntax of what the email is going to have. So I'll go ahead and let's see, if you're looking at my blog post, it's step 7. And in step 7, I go to this mail to link syntax. So I'm going to use this mail to hyperlink, and I use the syntax that I learned in this. There are a lot of blog posts out there, but this is where it is. So I have to basically type mail to and who it's going to go to, and all this stuff that I want to be in the subject and the body have to have that all in the same hyperlink. So I want maybe the subject to have, the information about the task and the task ID in it, so it'll be unique, and then I want the body to have the word approved or rejected in it. All right, so I'm going to say do my hyperlink and do my ellipsis and say it's going to be mail to, And this, the email address you use here has to be the one that you used over when you enabled incoming email on your list or library. It has to be that email address. So in this case, it's like WonderLaura test, but yours would probably be more specific as to, you know, Contoso travel request approval at contoso.com or whatever your company is. And then question mark subject equals. And that's where I'm going to put whatever. Okay, so the subject in this case has to match what the name of the task is going to be. So because later on in the other email, I need to be able to find the task that goes with the email that arrives. So I need the subject to match it. So when I wrote the blog post, I wrote it, you know, super simplistic, so that it only had the subject just being the ID of whatever the item is that's being approved. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and, like, I'm going to scroll down in my blog post to, let's say, number 27, which is where I get a little more complicated with the subject. So what did I decide to call? What did I decide to call the task? Let me see. Let me click OK here. I decided to call it vacation route. So this is the syntax I need to use in my subject of my email. So I'm just gonna like copy this. You know, you can't copy data straight from here if you have fields in it. So I'm gonna do like ID and created by, and then just copy this. So that's how you can copy things in here. All right, so I go to my task creation email here. And again, side note is that all the things that we're doing in task creation, if you're doing overdue emails in your workflow, you'll probably want to do them on the overdue email notification as well, so that they'll have that, that lazy approval if the task becomes overdue. All right, so I'm going to do approve, go back and modify this. And subject equals vacation request, and I can't do spaces, so I got to do %20, and I talk about that in here too in my blog post about how you actually have to use URL encode decode to be able to determine what your, like, what the syntax needs to be. And I'll go ahead and show you that too real quick. Open a new tab. So if I type vacation request like that, and that's what my syntax needs to be, I'll go encode and see how it puts a %20, a bunch of stuff like that. So I'll copy that, and that's what the syntax needs to be when I'm doing this mail to. Unfortunately, they make it more complicated than it probably should be. Okay, so here's where I need to put the ID. Everybody following so far? ID of the current item. And I actually tried using the task ID in here, but unfortunately when you're using the assign a task workflow action and it gives you back the task ID as a variable, that value doesn't exist yet while the workflow is running waiting for the task to be completed. So that's kind of annoying. So I'll put the created by, and again that's going to be whoever created the current item, and I put it as their first name, last name, display name. Okay, so that should match. Oh, I didn't do the body. That's the important part. The body is going to be ampersand body equals, and they even have other syntax and stuff like that, like CCs and different things if you wanted to do that. And then I'm just going to type approved. Now in the body I can put more information, like I can put verbiage like please click send and do nothing else. I can do all that in here. Just remember that %0A is if you want to put carriage returns in the body of your email. So I'll just do that. Let's see, %0A. And then in my URL encode decode thing, I'll say please click send and decode. Oh, sorry, I did it backwards. I'm supposed to encode it. I'll sure are quiet. Copy. Okay. Okay. And now the only thing that I need to do different with the reject is just the body is going to have the word reject in it. So I just need to do all the same stuff. Let me see. ID created by, and just grab all that and copy it. Cancel. And then do the same thing on the reject. Except the only difference is what? Just going to say rejected. Okay. Yep. Oh, no, wait. I didn't do my fields. Current item ID. And created by. Nice. Okay. Now that's kind of all the magic that happens in here. Say if they go to end of workflow here, they're really anything else that's going to be in this workflow is going to be just per whatever your particular solution is. So if it gets if it gets approved, are you going to have another step that does something else in the workflow, sends an email, or sets some field value to something, or whatever else you're doing. So that's anything that comes after this is just going to be unique to your solution. I'm going to double check that with the other one that I created for approved travel. But basically I was just giving an example of, yeah, it just goes to approved and it says, it just logs. So this is super simple. It's just logging whether it was approved or rejected, and that's all it's doing. So this is the really simple task, the really simple workflow. So I'll go ahead and I need to make sure that it runs when a new item's created, and I'll publish it. All right, and then the other workflow is going to be the more complicated one. The other one is going to be the one that is going to look for the email that arrives. And so the tricky thing between all these different lists that we're dealing with is that there's no relationship between them. There's no lookup field from, just inherently there's never a lookup field from a task to whatever gets requested. It just has sort of just like a generic, like a link to it, but there's not an actual lookup field. So inherently that doesn't exist. And then when the approval email arrives, of course, it doesn't have any, it's just the subject and the body of an email. It doesn't have any kind of reference or lookup to anything else. So the only thing I'm using in this case to match up the email that's going to arrive with the item that it goes with is just the fact that I'm going to make the subject of the email match the name of the task, and that's what I'm going to be looking for when the email arrives to go find that matching task. So that's something that you can definitely change and tweak. And like I mentioned in my blog, I just tried to make it the most simplistic way I could possibly do it and not make it too crazy, because you can definitely get kind of crazy. All right, let's see, no questions, you guys? Okay. Hopefully, yeah, let me know, give me some feedback as to if this is something that you guys get requested, it's something your business wants, and that type of thing. You would think it would be with all the people using mobile devices and that kind of thing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do my other workflow, and that one's got to be looking to see if an approval email arrives here. Now, I actually created the other workflow is waiting for an approval email to arrive. So I might turn that off or do something with that so that it doesn't do that just while I'm doing the new one. All right, so I created it as a site workflow, and the reason I created this wait for email as a site workflow is because it can't be on the place where the email arrives, because that won't trigger it. So it's just got to be somewhere else. So it could just be on a list that's got one item, and it's just you just click the start button and start the workflow, but it's just going to be a running workflow that's just running and waiting for things to arrive. So it doesn't have to be on a particular list. Okay, yeah, Anne, I know. That's one of the big negatives to me about Office 365, about not having incoming email, but we might try and go check that app out. All right, so I'm going to go create a new workflow. So I'll do a new site workflow, and I'll say wait for email, and I'll just call it version 2. Okay, and that has to be a 2013 workflow because that's the one that has to have, it's a certain action that we're going to use in here that doesn't exist in 2010, and it's this wait for this certain item event. This doesn't exist in 2010. So I'm going to say wait for when an item is added in my approval email list. And so this will actually trigger when the email arrives. So that's kind of the key to being able to do this in 2013. So wait for the email arrives, and you get a variable saying what the ID of the email is, and then you can do something with it. All right, so let me go ahead, and so I'm going to wait for it to arrive, and then let me go glance at I'm going to use that as a reference too as I'm going. So it took me hours to figure this out. All right, so I'm going to just log that it arrived. Item arrived. And I'm going to put the variable. So all I have so far is just the variable of whatever that item is that just arrived as an email. And then I can even do things like log what the subject and body are and things like that. The title field will be the subject, and the body and the body of your announcement in this announcements list is going to be the body of your email. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and obtain that task ID from the email. So I'm going to use this email to look up and figure out what the associated task is, and then I'm going to be able to use that task ID in multiple places in my workflow to be able to reference that associated task and go close the task and stuff like that. So I'm going to say set workflow variable. I'm going to call it task ID. Make it an integer. And then set it to what? This is the most complicated part right here. So I want to set the task ID to go to the workflow task list, and I want the ID of the item where the task title or task name is equal to the approval email subject, where the GUID of the approval email is equal to my related item. Da, da, da. So I've got this. I'll go ahead and click OK. I've got this in a screenshot in my blog. Let me move this over so I can explain it a little. Here we go. So it's going and finding the ID of a task in the task list where the task name is equal to the email subject. So that's how it's going to narrow it down to one unique item, find that unique item. And then it's going to say where the email subject is equal to whatever specific email we're looking at that just arrived. Clear as mud? All right. So that's how I can use that later. Understand. Alrighty. So then what am I gonna do with it? I am going to, so I added this actually later on in my blog post. I started out with just some super simple stuff, and this is something that I added later to make sure that in the real world you would probably want whoever the task is assigned to be the same as the person who sends the approval email, right? Unless you have like some CEO that has, you know, their secretary approving stuff for them or something, right? So you probably want to have that as a stipulation. So I put a transition in here to match up the created by to make sure that that's the same person before I move on. So I'll go ahead and put that in here too. First of all, I've got to create my other stages. So it's going to be a stage called complete task, and then a stage called not correct approver. Because I want to be able to log that and be able to see when that happens and not just have the workflow just go back to waiting when it's not the correct prover and have no way to figure out what happened that was wrong. So that's why I created a stage to have that in here. So log prover was not correct. And then this workflow I'm never going to have end. So I'm always going to go, so this one's going to be waiting for email. And it's always going to be waiting. So I don't want to ever have any of these say go to, end workflow, because then it won't be waiting for new emails anymore. So I always want to go back to waiting for email when different things happen in here. So go to waiting for email. All right. So this is where the if statement was. You can even do, who was it, Carlos, that was in the chat room in here a couple of months ago, where he mentioned this one to us that I thought was pretty cool. Person is a valid SharePoint user. This one can be used to put the specific people that should be approvers in a certain SharePoint group, and that way you're just looking to see if the person is in a SharePoint group, as opposed to looking for, I'm going to look for a specific field. But that's another option you have, is just to say, hey, if the person's not in a specific SharePoint group, then don't go out and complete the task. So I'm going to use if any value equals value, and I'm going to say, I need to say the person, the assigned to field in the task is equal to the created by field in the, hey Carlos, the created by field in the approval email. All right, because the approval email is going to arrive as a, see, the created by field is the person who sends the email. Now, if you have stuff coming from outside your organization, it's just gonna say system account or something. But since this is all internal people, it's gonna say created by, and it's the actual person, so it will match. All right, so data source, workflow tasks, and assigned to, where the ID of the task is, and that's why we got that task ID parameter, where the ID is that task we already determined is the one that matches. So the assigned to equals, and that's going to be the approval email created by, where, that's weird looking, where the GUID is equal to this related item thing. So I know that's a lot of complexity. This one, I think I did it backwards. Let's see, created by equals assigned to. Yeah, assigned to equals created. I did it backwards, so we'll see if that works. It should work correctly because it's the same two fields, but I haven't tested it that way, so I'm not sure. So if assigned to is correct, then go to complete task. Otherwise, go to not correct approver, and then it would log it, and then it would go back to waiting. All right, so complete task is the part where we have to go out and complete that specific task. So I'm going to say, yep, and we got to find out if it's approved or not. So if the body is going to say approved or rejected in it. So if the approval email body, where, you're getting the idea here, where the GUID of the approval email is equal to this related item, contains approved. Now, if you're using, now this is case sensitive, you could use contains ignoring case if you wanted it to not be case sensitive. And you could also do, if they're going to be typing the word approved or approve or any kind of different verbiage they might be using, you could use, I guess, different if statements. But this one's just, hopefully they're just clicking the approve button and clicking send and not changing what the verbiage is in the email. Okay, if it contains approved, do something. Otherwise, if it contains rejected, approval email body, where the GUID of the approval email is this thing, equals, or contains rejected. And do something else. Otherwise, I still like to put logging in my workflows just in case. So otherwise, just log was neither approved nor rejected. Okay, so if it's approved, I'm going to create a list item. And I'm sorry, not create list item, update list item. Okay, update. And that's over in my workflow task list where all the workflows are that are being assigned. Okay, what specific task am I getting? That's easy. I already got that as a variable, right? So my workflow variable is task ID. So now I know what specific task I'm updating, and I want to set the field of task status to completed, and I want to set the field task outcome to approved. I'm just typing the word approved. Now what I tried to do here and is I wanted to use a variable here because I just wanted to say, you know, if it's approved, then set this variable called task outcome to approved, and that way you'd only have to do one update list item action, and it would just have the variable in here. That actually didn't work. It kept breaking. So every time I would click OK here, and that had a variable in it, I would open it back up, and it would be gone. So after several rounds of trial and error, for some reason, I don't know why it doesn't work that way on this particular field, but I just went ahead and just used it like this and just typed the word approved in it. Whatever. All right. So then I can just take this and copy it, just use my little copy functionality in here and paste it. And then all I have to change is the word rejected. Okay, and then I usually like to log things just to give me more information. It was approved. And or log it was rejected. Okay, now I'm gonna, let's see, go ahead and publish my site workflow. And the other one, I actually want to make it so that it's not going to get triggered when I'm doing this. So I'm going to, actually I'm just going to go stop that one because it's just running and running. I'm just going to go stop it so then it won't get triggered. Okay, so site workflows are a little different. Let's see, where am I? There we go. Site workflows are a little different. They're on your site contents screen under site workflows. And I can see that this wait for email one is already running. So I'm just going to kill it because that's the old one I used when I wrote my blog post, the one I was testing with. So now I'm going to see my new one in there. For some reason, when I click to kill it, it doesn't take me back to the list of workflows. So I have to go back like that. Okay, so here's my new one. So it needs to always be running. So that's one of the tricky things that as you're creating this and testing it and making changes and republishing the workflow, every time you do that, you have to go terminate, you know, end the one that's currently running and then start it again because it's a new version. So if it's continuously running and running, newer versions of the workflow aren't going to get applied to, changes aren't going to get applied to it as it's running. Does that make sense? Okay, so no questions still? Okay. All right, so now it's waiting for email. So I'll go ahead and fill out a new request, my vacation request. Vacation type, UTO. Okay. All right, so the workflow should be running. Yep, okay, I didn't name, so I could have given it a prettier name. Now, one thing that I didn't do that would have made sense to do was that in my workflow, I didn't give it pretty stage names. So no matter what happens, this is always going to say stage 1, and it's never going to say whether it was approved or rejected. So that is something that I do need to go in there and update. It will be approved or rejected, but this little column won't say one thing or the other. All right, so I got an email, and it is, look at that. So there's my vacation request telling me when the trip starts and everything, and then I can go click approve and see here's my pretty little syntax. Nice, right? Okay, so there's my nice little syntax, and I can click send, and then it should arrive over here. And this is where I just kind of keep refreshing it and just wait. But another thing as I'm waiting for this that I wanted to point out is that there are going to be things that little pieces that you might want to get from the body of the email, or things that you might want to do with like more verbiage from the email, or specific things from inside of this email as the emails arrive. That here it is. All right, so there's my thing that arrived. So it should have triggered the workflow, and it should have gone out and approved it. Okay, so no, it didn't. It didn't trigger it. Okay, so let's go see what happened. So I did this many times when I was testing this out to see, you know, to make sure that it matched, and lots of troubleshooting. So the item arrived, and the approver was not correct. So remember where I said it was either assigned to and created by, and or they were switched around, and that it shouldn't make a difference? Apparently it does. Okay, so at least it's telling me because I put my logging in here as to what happened. So I have to go ahead and terminate this since I'm going to change the workflow and republish it. I have to go ahead and kill the one that was running. So let's go switch these around. So it's going to be the created by equals assigned to, which is really dumb. Okay, so it's going to be approval email created by, where the GUID of the approval email is equal to this workflow variable. Okay, and then equals, and that's going to be the assigned to. So in the workflow task list, assigned to as login name, and then where the ID of the task equals that other little variable. There we go. Okay, and I'll go ahead and publish that, and I need to go remember to go restart my site workflow. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and, since I'm changing things, I'll go ahead and republish this one, since I didn't name the stage and I didn't really give it any information. So assign task, and then there are a couple of different options you can do to make it have a different, show the status in that workflow column. One of them is you can just say, you know, if outcome equals approved, then there's a set workflow status, and you can just type a word that you want it to say there. I usually just use stages. I don't know why, I just think they're pretty. And then, so I'll go rejected. Approved. Just trying to hurry. Okay, and then those are both going to be the end of the workflow. Okay, and then this is where I have to put the if statement to make it go to the right section. So condition if any value. So if outcome equals approved, go to approved, otherwise go to rejected, because it's going to be one of the two. All right, so now it'll look a little prettier. Okay, thanks, Frank. Bye. Frank said, gotta run. All right. Okay, so that one's running, that one's publishing, and we'll go back. I have to go to my site workflow again and kick it off again since I republished it. Okay, so now it's, sometimes when you click to kick it off, it doesn't immediately show here either. So and then when I click it again, sometimes then it'll show two of them. So see, yeah, it went ahead and started. Okay, so I'll go do a new vacation request again. PTO, ETO, whatever. Okay, so then the workflow will be running, and it will have a prettier stage name here, assign task. And so now, and I can click this and I can see the name of the task that's assigned, and the email should be arriving, and there it is, email. So I'm going to click the link in the email to go approve it. Actually, maybe I'll reject it. Maybe I'll do one where I reject it. I'm just approving it every time. Sure, go on vacation, right, guys? Y'all just go on vacation whenever you want. Okay. Okay, so that approved it. So let's go see if it matched up this time. So the approval email hasn't come in yet. I was hoping I would have a little time to go look at Office 365. I can at least get that pulled up. Get Office 365 pulled up so we can go see, go look into that app that Wendy was talking about. Come on, approval email. There it is. Okay, let's go see if it closed the task out. No, it didn't. Okay, let's see what it did wrong. Good thing I've got lots of logging, right? It was approved. So it says it was approved, but then it just didn't go approve the task. So again, more troubleshooting. As y'all could see, I did. Oh yeah, there it is. So it just must have been doing it like as I was looking at this list a second ago. I was like, God, what did I do wrong now? So now it shows that it was approved, completed, and it went ahead and crossed it out for me. So what I was going to say is if you had more things that you wanted to do with the verb, like getting verbiage out of the email, there are things that you can do with some string actions. Like if I want to, let's see, I'll show you what some of them look like. Find substring in string. So my item says travel request : and then it's got the ID of what the travel request is. If I want to go get that specific thing and have it as a variable in my workflow, I can go say, go find like go find this inside of the email subject. Approval email body or subject or wherever I want to find it from. So I can go out and I kind of got into the weeds when I was first started writing the blog post about trying to like extract little specific things out of the workflow, out of the email from the workflow, like trying to go find the ID and go get that exact little string of characters out of the subject line and stuff like that. When I realized that all I had to do was match the email subject with the task name, and it wasn't that big of a deal. So, but that's one thing you can do is you can really kind of go crazy with trying to extract things out of it. I can also go like set a workflow variable of like email body to a string to whatever is in the body of that email, and it will give me like the raw HTML or whatever's in the body, and then I can go see that, I can log it, and then I can go find specific things in there too. So again, those are a couple extra things that you could do if you wanted. Let's go see. Any questions? Any of you guys have questions or confusion or? Again, the only thing I can think of that would be really weird with this would be having multiple tasks that have the exact same task name, unfortunately. So what was it called? Email something. Email. Thanks, Wendy, by the way. Email services.
Yes, I was.
Yes? What, Kevin?
I was, and yes, I will be in Jersey this weekend.
Oh, cool, yeah, and Todd's going to be there, and who else? Jason is going to be there. Okay, I just got the email services app. Trust it, sure. Okay, Wendy, I'm trusting it. All right, so it's still installing, so I don't know, we've got 5 minutes left. We're not really going to have time to delve too deep into it, but hopefully it will give us the same kind of capability, and then we would be able to just, if we're receiving email in a list, then we would be able to just have that, whatever that list is where the email's arriving, have that some site workflow just waiting for emails to arrive. So, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that right now.
Hey, Laura.
Yeah.
One thing you can do about duplicate subject names for emails is you could create another workflow activity that, or use another workflow activity that modified but maybe appended the ID to it. So as the email is added to the list, a workflow appends the ID of that item to the subject, which becomes the title, and then that be what you reference your tasks and everything on.
That's a good idea. Yeah, so you could create a workflow that runs on the task list, that as soon as the task gets completed, it changes the task title. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and then your other workflows run after that, and it keys off of the, at that point, unique, every time unique subject or title.
Very cool. Anybody know what we're doing next week for Power Hour? I'm going to be teaching my Power User class all week. So SharePoint.rackspace.com/training is where, if you're interested in that. But yeah, one of you guys is going to get to do something. Put Corey on the spot since he's new. Hey, it's going to be your like your hazing ritual. So SharePoint-A-Looza is coming up this weekend in Branson. It's a what, 3-day, right? 4-day?
It's a 2-day SharePoint Saturday, basically.
Yeah, it's just SharePoint Saturday. SharePoint Saturdays are free, and this one's like $25 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's 25 if you've been to it before. It's 35 if you haven't.
Oh, super cheap. That's practically free. And what else is coming up? There's going to be a Cloud Saturday in Atlanta this coming Saturday, the 18th. So I thought that was, thanks, Marcy. So I thought that sounded kind of interesting. And SharePoint SP TechCon is going to be in February in Austin, and we are all going, the whole team. So that'll be a lot of fun. All right, cool. I guess no more questions, so we'll let everybody go. That was a good one. That was fun. See y'all next time. Every Wednesday, 11 Central. Bye.